Hey everyone, what's up? I'm the Wiggling Wolf, and hope y'all are having a good day. So this is part 2 of A Gunslinger's Guide to Throwing Knives. So you've practiced in PvE, you've gotten comfortable with the throwing knives and hitting headshots against Thrall, Fallen, your general enemies with heads. So moving on to PvP, some tips for utilizing them in the Crucible. You really want to be using them at the beginning or at the end of a gunfight. When you're using them at the beginning of a gunfight, you need to use it before they even notice you're there or before they even start shooting at you. Otherwise, you'll put yourself at an immediate disadvantage even if the throwing knife lands. Because by the time your throwing knife hits the enemy, they'll have been able to put multiple shots on you. This obviously varies with the distance you're at from the enemy, but generally you don't want to use it when they've already seen you. You want to use it right before the engagement officially happens, and that's kind of up to you to feel out and decide. I can't really tell you how to do that. That's more of an instinctual thing. The utilization of throwing knives is very instinctual. The second time you want to use a throwing knife is at the end of a gunfight to quickly close it out. If you've seen in my other throwing knife video, I get one or two shots in on people, then I chuck one, and then move on to my next target. This makes them great for multitasking. If you're using the last word, it essentially brings back the 2-tap that it could do before they patched it in the April update. Because you're essentially 2-tapping someone with one shot from a hand cannon and one throw from a throwing knife. It's that simple, and you'll win the battle and you can move on to your next target quickly. They're actually very good for shotgunning and sniping. They're great for dealing with shotgunners, as I said in the previous video. They're also great for closing distance as a shotgunner. If someone's noticing you running up as a shotgunner and they haven't fired at you yet, you can chuck one at the enemy as you're approaching and just get half as close as you normally would have to and kill them. They're kind of an all-around good tool. You just have to know how to use them. And you'll realize that you use them a lot in the air because they are so versatile. You can kind of use them while you're on the ground or in the air. I think they're best used in the air. If you're in the air, you're a harder target to hit, making it a little bit easier to open a fight with them before your enemy actually engages you. And it kind of gives you a little bit more free time to come down to the ground and finish the gunfight against them. This kind of goes against what I said at the beginning of the video, but you can use them at the beginning of a gunfight if you're in the air. Just make sure you are in the air, or you're at least sliding around a corner or doing something that makes you difficult to hit. Otherwise, you will be put at an immediate disadvantage if you use it as an opener, if they notice you right away. This next tip is more of a warning. Don't use them in the middle of a gunfight that you're losing. I mean, you can use it in this way, but if you need to use one to kind of turn the tide of a gunfight, make sure you break line of sight, then re-engage with the throwing knife. If you don't do this, you will lose the gunfight, or you will trade, or something disadvantageous like those. Throwing knives aren't a gun. I kind of compared them to a gun in the last video, but they're not. A knife is not a gun. Plain and simple, you want to use it as a knife. Use it as one. Knives are a little bit slower than a bullet if you haven't noticed. Realize that, take that into account, and just kind of know when to throw it. This is the part where your instincts will come to play, and this is the part that's going to take a lot of practice for you to get good, because realistically, I'm telling you to go out and practice. I can't tell, this is kind of like sniping, right? I can't tell you the secret to using them well. You kind of have to go out there and find it for yourself. You might not even use them in the same way that I do once you figure it out. These are just kind of basic tips to get comfortable with them. And yeah, your instincts by using throwing knives will grow, and you'll kind of know when to throw it, or when you feel comfortable throwing them, when you don't feel comfortable throwing them. Maybe you only like throwing them in the middle of a gunfight, and that works for you. That's great, you know. Our playstyles are different, but the general population uses them at the beginning or at the end of a gunfight. Using them at the beginning is very unexpected. That will go more to your advantage if you get good at using them in the beginning of a gunfight. Using them at the end of a gunfight is a little more common, as you probably know if you've been killed by throwing knives before. Using them at the beginning. So this goes along with some homework I'm giving you guys to try out. This is kind of when you'll know that you are good with throwing knives, and that you can use them efficiently, and you are a skilled master of the blade as a hunter. So homework. Anticipate. Anticipate when someone is turning a corner and throw the knife as they're turning the corner to open the fight. This is before you even see them, or right before you see them turn the corner. You're probably wondering, how the hell do you do that? This is by utilizing your radar, your instinct, and your general knowledge of throwing knives to do this. Generally, when I do this, and this isn't something you're going to hit like right away, this isn't something you're going to hit all the time, this is kind of usually for me like a 65% chance I'm going to hit this throwing knife. But you can do it. If you aren't really experienced with throwing knives, you aren't going to be able to do this at all. For this homework, I want you to do this at least 2 to 3 times within a match, and once you do that, you'll have basically mastered the weapon, and I can go on to part 3 where I talk a little bit about what throwing knives can do for you in your game and how they morph your playstyle, which is what part 3 will be about. Kind of like the finishing touches on this little guide that I'm making. But yeah, I hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions or help in your training to become a throwing knife master, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer any questions that you have. But as always, I was the Wiggling Wolf, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.